Long ago, a fair maiden happened upon virgin land, between a snowy mountain and a frozen lake. She declared the land hers, installed herself with a small camp upon the hills, and began to grow crops to sustain herself. Despite the bleak climate conditions, her crops grew so swiftly to almost be considered instantaneous, and around them sprung gorgeous cherry blossoms, giving life to the stark peak. Soon enough, she had the resources to erect a modest house on the same peak. Wandering travelers told tales of the modest house in the highlands and the beautiful woman that called it her home. Strangers who had traveled great lengths would deviate from their planned routes to quite literally stop and stare at the fair maiden. She would smile and wave at them, and in her gracious altruism, the fair maiden gifted them with some of her rations. This only deepened their fondness for her. Many of the wanderers traveled in search of greater opportunities, and with the fair maiden's selflessness, many decided to repay her generosity by aiding her in growing her crops. This led many to establish themselves permanently at the base of the precipice. Crop production grew exponentially, and before long, the huddled masses immigrated to the land where they could finally breathe free. The citizens of the newfound commonwealth designated the fair maiden as their ruling monarch. Due to her youthful elegance, the masses decided to bestow her with the title of Princess, the Princess of Cherries, fitting the blossoms that grew around her. Having an abundance of natural resources for its citizens, the town of Cherries grew exponentially, so much so that there wasn't enough land to accommodate the growing population. Witnessing the rapid growth, the princess determines the best course of action is to gather her most loyal servants, the ones that had been there since the town's inception, to follow her in her plight to manifest destiny. They head westward until they happen upon the shores of a sandy plain. The princess deems the beach to be immaculate, and her devoted servants begin construction on their new home, the beach of Cherries. Though her initial quest had been completed, the princess was not content with just one new territory to add to her expanding kingdom. She knew they needed more land, and thus the princess set out to conquer new territories, alone. Though before she ventured out into the unknown, she built a humble home just as before, and promised to complete it when she returned. She also left her subjects to complete the construction of Cherry Beach so that it may be finished by the time she returns. The subjects worked tirelessly, day and night, rain or shine, and before long the new village was done. All that was left to do now was to wait for the princess's homecoming. So they waited, and waited, and waited. But there wasn't a trace of the princess to be found. Word of the princess's disappearance traveled back to Cherrytown. Search parties were formed, but with little yield. The loyal servants became restless and uneasy. Countless days and nights had passed since the princess's departure into uncharted territory. Eventually, they dreaded the worst. Most of the servants retired back into town. All but 3 stayed on the coarse-grained shore. The trio that remained has taken a massive expansion out from the initial shore to other areas in the immediate vicinity. They built more homes, mass transit, and even entertainment in the hopes that one day not only would the princess return from her quest triumphantly, awestruck by their dedication not only to the expansion of the empire, but to her as well. Though 2 of them eventually succumbed to the uncertainty and they gave up as well. I am the only one who remains, working on projects here and there to keep myself from yielding to the reality of the situation. My compatriots call me blindly optimistic, but I will call myself blissfully ignorant. I can't allow myself to be otherwise, or all my unending labor would be in vain, and all that would remain would be empty buildings, broken promises, and a fool who was gullible enough to believe in all of it. Nevertheless, I continue in my self-imposed endeavor, for in the depths of my sanity, the soft, loving voice of the princess hearkens to me. Never waver in your faith, my gentle devotee. Then who am I to go against her commands? I, a humble worker whose mental state varies, and her, a charming young lady christened the Princess of Cherries.